Quiet on set. Picture is up. All right, roll sound.
Rolling.
Roll cameras.
Cams rolling.
And 3, 2.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Hank's Think Tank. So this is our third show of the week, and finally picking up some time at the table here. And for the fifth time, I have Spring Paranormal Investigators. And it's almost the whole team, and they've made a couple of changes. We're going to get into all that. We're going to talk about what they've been doing, the publicity they've been making, and man, just everything going on with SPI, including some demonic stuff that they've been dealing with and a couple of cases they worked on. So welcome aboard, everybody. What's going on, Amy?
Hey, how's it going?
Before we get started, I want to get some better introductions that I've done in the past. So, Amy, if you would introduce everybody and what they do and how they help out, that'd be great.
Okay. Well, to my right is Raiden Dempsey, who has recently moved up on the team. He's actually always been doing the work, but he recently got the title he finally deserved. So he is a lead full-time investigator.
All right.
Very gifted, sensitive, and extremely well-versed in demonic and inhuman type happenings. This is Chris Peterson, also my husband, of course. I think everybody knows that now. He is our tech whiz. Basically, Chris touches every case we handle. So all of the stuff that nobody ever sees, all of the downloading of the footage and anything with that, you know, if a camera gets erased by a spirit, it's up to him to find it, recover it, and make it where I can see it.
Okay.
Fun stuff there. We'll get into some other things that he's taking on in the future. But for now, that's been his main role, and a little bit of filming for us here and there, too.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have Todd Williams, who is new to your show the last time we were on it, because it's been like a year.
Yeah. But I think he was here before. You were here before,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
He had just joined us, and he was a brand new member at that time. But Todd has definitely moved up and is a very crucial member of this team now. He is my right-hand guy. So,
Awesome.
extremely gifted, sensitive, and audio abilities, and all kinds of things he's finding out along the way. But he
Todd,
is a
you were
good
a
all-around
client
guy.
to start out with, right?
Yes, I was a former client, and heck, I wasn't even looking to join a team, or I never even thought of something like that. It just sort of rolled from being a client into being on the team. So,
Well, that's cool. Fantastic.
And of course, Lynette Coors, our medium, is still with us. She was supposed to be here tonight, but she fell ill at the last minute and could not make it.
Yeah, she hasn't got the Corvid, does she?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Don't put that into her head.
Yeah,
She may decide otherwise.
We'll call her later. And, I'm sure I could say, hey, your symptoms are X, so you probably got that. So.
And Jason and Michelle are still members of the team, but they are currently on leave.
Okay.
So we're hoping they've just got a lot going on that they can make it back to us.
Yeah, everybody's got to have vacation sooner or later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how long have both of them been with the team?
Jason, well, Michelle joined first. Michelle's been with me since fairly close to the beginning. It's probably been about 7 years now.
Wow.
That she's been on the team. Jason, about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So,
and how long have y'all been operating? What, 7 years, 8 years?
so the team officially,
And I'm gonna move this up for you a little bit.
kind of officially got started like 2015.
Yeah.
We were back then. We were very different. We were a regular team, of course, and we were doing investigations here and there. It wasn't anything like what it is now, and we weren't a specialty team. So it's changed a lot over the years along the way. And,
things do.
2015 was more like the proto team.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's a
So
good
how many
recall.
documented cases have y'all done? Do you know?
Oh Lord.
Good God.
It's a few thousand at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
And that's a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's literally every weekend we're out there.
I
Really?
mean,
So-
that's encompassing just the actual cases themselves, not just the subsequent investigations on those specific cases. So those numbers are even higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so here's another question. I'm thinking about it. Farthest you've traveled? How far have you gone? What's the farthest y'all gone to do a case?
So I do a lot of consults that the rest of the team isn't even involved in. The furthest consult I've done to date is Romania.
Romania?
Yeah.
You speak Romanian?
I do not. Luckily, she spoke English, so it worked out well.
Yeah, that would have made it kind of hard. Y'all would still be talking.
Yeah. She actually wanted us to come, but, there's a war going on. There's a couple of things going on really close to there. I wasn't really comfortable with that, so... but I did consult with her and help her out from afar and helped her get a team closer to her that could help her and that kind of thing. So I do a lot of that. Recently had a elderly lady in Pennsylvania that we helped out through a good friend of ours named Bill Slevin, who's in Florida. And he hooked me up with an investigator in New York who is much closer than we are. And so she'll be helping her, and they're kind of keeping me posted as they go. And if I'm needed, I can help somewhat from afar.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that far. Man, I thought, you were going to say like Dallas or San Antonio or Pasadena.
As far as physically, I think Louisiana is
Either
the
that
furthest
or
physical.
The ranch out in West Texas.
That's actually probably further, even though it was still Texas.
That was still 72. That was like 72 miles from the border.
Yeah, because you can leave today and you could be traveling for like 6 days and still be in Texas.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we were not far from the border on a very large ranch in West Texas. I think that would probably be the furthest.
It probably actually is. I wasn't thinking about that because same state, but yeah, distance-wise, that was a long way.
Yeah.
Wow.
They actually had no service out there. We were like we lost service about 50 miles from where they live. And the client was in contact with me, and he's like, you're going to get to a certain point. The road's going to come to a fork. It's going to do this, and you're going to have no service, no map, no nothing. Wow. And everybody's looking at me going, how much have you talked to this guy? We trust this guy, right? He's like, I'm going to meet you at the fork and guide you in. I'm like, okay.
Okay, you're driving up and he's got a chainsaw.
Yeah, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but...
It was actually discussed specifically. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was specifically discussed.
The further out we got, the more we're like, is this a good idea? Like, what are we doing?
Because they did cattle processing and like wild game processing and stuff too. So we're like, hold on, wait a minute. And then, of course, the Texas Chainsaw jokes started flowing.
Quick way to disappear.
Yeah.
They were great people, though, no worries.
Well, that's good. So y'all mainly, though, just work in the Houston surrounding area, right?
It's really all over. We do all over Texas frequently. We are on a case right now in Flower Mound, which is like a northwest suburb of Fort Worth. So we'll be actually going back there. Is it next weekend or the weekend after to clear that?
The weekend after.
I've never heard of Flower Mound.
It's a little suburb.
Huh.
It's kind of like
be,
the Woodlands is to Houston or something. If you say that to somebody out of town, they're not going to know.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
But yeah, Fort Worth basically.
Yeah. Well, you guys were recently featured on Deborah Duncan or the morning show, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah.
Great Day Houston.
Yeah, Great Day Houston. Deborah Duncan looks completely different than she used to also.
Well, she was in costume that day, so she definitely looked.
Oh, really? Was it Halloween?
Yeah, it was the Halloween episode.
Oh, wow.
She was green.
Okay.
Yeah. She was the wicked.
So how did that whole
witch,
thing come about?
So that came from actually last year. I think it was early last year. The Houston Chronicle contacted me, and they did an article on me that featured the whole team, print article in the paper. And I guess the representatives at the Deborah Duncan show saw that, and so they thought we would be a great thing to feature for the Halloween episode.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. So how long does something like that take? Is it an all-day shoot, or is it done that morning? Is it live? What's
It's
it?
live. That one's
really?
live.
Wow.
So yeah, we had to get there really early, and it's in Galleria area.
Yeah.
So that's always fun.
Yeah.
So we were there really early and got all the the makeup and the little nice green room and
Yeah.
We waited more than it lasted.
yeah,
Waiting
it was
around.
actually pretty
Really?
quick filming it.
Yeah. And then they just bring you out, throw you in the chair, make it happen. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, they
3,
talked
2,
to
1,
Amy
go.
Yeah.
more than,
Yeah.
but they only have so much because they had like 2 or 3 other segments
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And was your segment kind of prearranged? I mean, did you know what she was going to ask and how it was going to go?
A little
or-
bit. So they sent me like pre-questions, like these are questions we might ask. We need your answers to
Yeah.
these. They requested photos of certain things.
Yeah.
You know, so I gave them a whole lot of information. Some of that was featured, some of it wasn't. You know, I mean, they use what, you know, they think is
Yeah.
best, I guess. And then the intro was really, really cool because none of us knew what that was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
I had told them, they had asked me, you know, what originally piqued your interest in this, like as a child. And I mentioned the Ghostbusters movie. We all love that movie, of course.
Right.
That's, you know. And so they actually put that as our intro and then
Well,
put
that's
all the
cool.
pictures of
Yeah.
me. So we couldn't see that because the show was live.
Yeah.
And that was all taped and put together. So we didn't actually see that till later that day when we got home and we all went and
Yeah.
watched the show. And it was like, oh, that's so cool.
That was neat.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
So have y'all had any other big publicity since then? Anything else? TV, paper, any of that kind of stuff?
So we've done a couple of other podcasts throughout the year. We did an RL podcast with JV, super cool. We did Shout Out Houston recently. It's a print paper
Yeah.
kind of thing. We did the National Paranormal magazine last year.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a centerfold deal.
Yeah, kind of. We weren't the cover team, but we were
Yeah.
featured. We had like a 3-page article, and that one's a
Oh,
cool
that's
deal.
cool.
You
Yeah.
have to be invited by someone who's already been interviewed
Oh, okay. Like
by
an
the
alumni
magazine to
invitation.
be in
yeah.
it. Yes, and
Wow.
and that invitation is always given. That person is anonymous.
Okay.
So I have a pretty good idea who put us in for that.
Yeah.
You know, and I thank him for it. But that was a really cool deal for all of us.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. That's all right. And then also you had Ghost Hunting Beauties,
Yes.
which went on for what, 2 seasons?
It's 2 seasons.
So how did that
yeah.
whole thing work out?
You know, it was really good. We loved the experience. I think, you know, we learned a lot, and Todd actually helped crew the entire second season of that. And I
Learned a
think
whole
he
lot.
learned a lot in doing that. So it was a very cool experience. You know, we all got along really well. We all
Right.
enjoyed it immensely. And I think it helped to, you know, give us some viewership that we might not have gotten. Other people got to see us and know about us. And, you know, the more exposure we get, the more people know about us, the more people we can help. So
Yeah, there you go.
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I think it did that. We got to a point, of course, after the second season where we've been kind of itching for a long time to start our own YouTube channel.
Okay.
So that's something that's going to be happening later this year that we're
Cool.
really excited about. We're already working on that and got the equipment for that now. So we're going to start filming that within the next couple of weeks.
So are you going to be doing production while you're out on cases? Is that so similar to...
Somewhat.
Okay.
We still want to keep the anonymity of our clients. Of course, not
Right.
all of our clients want to be known at all.
Yeah.
So some cases we will not be featuring clients' faces and that kind of thing, just
Okay.
because I still don't want
I get
to
it.
do
Yeah.
that. But it will feature us on some of our client investigations, and then we'll be doing some additional investigations like cemeteries and public places just for the show.
Okay.
But one of the big things, and in our talking about this, I did not want it to be like every other ghost hunting show, where, you know, it's the same format every time, and you got there and you're ghost hunting, and
Right.
and you're looking at this, and you're talking about this, and then we're ghost hunting in another room. I don't want that same thing. I want this to be very different and very organic. So we're gonna have some episodes will be interviews with famous parapsychologists or priests or different people
That's cool.
in the
Yeah.
industry that, you know, we admire and look up to. Some of it will be us investigating. Some of it will be interviews with team members. One of the things people ask us for all the time is, you know, I want to know more about Raiden or Todd or Chris or whoever. And we don't get into
Spotlight
that too
on
much on
Raiden.
the page. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
So it's going to be more of a where they get to see us and get to really know us and know what we do.
Are you going to take your shirt off for the calendar thing?
We all discussed it as actually it was Jason's idea. I'll give him the credit for that. If we just do the the whole fireman calendar.
Yeah, there you go.
Various monsters and whatnot. No, but another thing we had discussed too was also going back into the backlog, because a lot of times, like on this show, we've gone over certain things that have happened in the past. We brought 1 or 2 clips to show y'all and stuff, but talking about going back into the backlog and omitting names, of course, in certain cases, but going back over and kind of like detailing, like almost like a story format of how we're going to what actually happened and what transpired. I think that's something that could give certain potential people who may not have a full-blown paranormal issue but small things, I relate to that, let me try and implement that into what I'm dealing with, and kind of give them another resource. So
Okay. What about testimonials? I mean, you think you'll go back to any of your clients, and there may be some who want to do it,
It's possible.
And that'd be cool to do an interview with somebody that you've had a case with and was able to clear and help them out. And
it's possible. We do have a lot of reviews and that kind of thing. So some of the people, that have left those might be okay with doing something like that.
There's some that I could definitely say probably would.
My big thing is I just don't want anyone to feel or be exploited in any way. With doing the kind of cases we do, a lot of these demonic things and that kind of thing, it's very easy for people to see somebody and start, giving a stigma, or the neighbors see it and, oh yeah, that's the crazy lady that lives. I don't want my clients to go through that. So I'm kind of very protective of those identities and of that. There may be certain select situations, but that definitely won't be a regular thing just because of that.
Yeah.
Anonymity is important, I think, on this.
Yeah. So where are you trying to go with the YouTube channel, though? Just additional exposure, or you hope maybe you'll get picked up by A&E or something like that? I mean, I've always thought that you guys, as a group, had the right personality to do like an A&E type show or something like that.
Well, thank you.
Like the original Ghost Hunters. I thought y'all would be, y'all would be. If anybody could do it, y'all could pull it off. As long as the production itself didn't get in the way of what you were doing.
Yeah.
Which it seems like it's got to be a hard separation to make.
It is.
It's a very fine
line.
It's a very fine line.
It's, I'm not against that happening. That being said, it would have to be the right situation.
Yeah.
We've actually been approached by a lot of shows. We did Ghost Hunting Beauties, obviously. I was approached by several before that. Big shows, shows that are on TV, not just YouTube.
Yeah.
Every case, they have turned me down in the end after they talk to me because they're like, you have way too much material. You need your own show.
Yeah.
All right, want to give me that?
Or they're trying to get us to do fake scripted moments.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Anything.
And that comes up almost every time. Well, we'll want you to.
Well, it's
no,
eye candy.
I won't do
it. Of course, yeah.
I will not fake anything. I am
Ours
just
is as raw as you can get.
and I'll tell them that straight up. I won't fake anything. Don't ask me. And I'm going to read
Then
the
you just
contract.
need to tell them.
And I'm
Then
gonna
you just need to
nitpick
tell
it.
them, look, we're not going to fake anything. We won't need to.
Yeah.
Then they're like, oh,
I think a lot of it is like the mainstream, like ghost shows. Some of them, not all of them, but a lot of them rely more on like horror-esque entertainment beats.
Yeah.
So it's like, the jump scare, the
Well, of course, yeah.
pause.
Did you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Stuff like that. Whereas more of what our team does is almost like documentary or informative work.
Right.
So the retention beats are a completely different thing compared to what they're traditionally looking for. So it causes some friction, especially with the fact that there are certain things where we're doing a lot of residential homes, things like that, and we're not allowed to 100% disclose information. So there's that rub just kind of usually results in us going a different way with it.
But see, I'm the guy that would be interested in seeing stuff like, I've got this noise in the attic and it's bad, it's real bad. And then y'all go and find out that every time the air conditioner comes on, it makes a piece of wood vibrate or something.
Mr. HVAC man.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be, to me, I'd find that to be interesting too. It'd be worth watching.
Some
but
people
I'm a
do, but
boring
a
guy.
lot
I
of
stick with
people
anything.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
People
They
want
want to see
that
people scream and run, and
We definitely debunk it if it's not
Yeah.
something paranormal. You know, hey, you got
Yeah.
loose wire in your wall. You got every time the wind blows, this flaps over here. You know, I mean,
And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that's great about this team because I work construction by day. Raiden used to work construction by day. Now he works in a warehouse. Chris is a warehouse guy. Todd works HVAC and major plumbing
I've done
systems and all.
construction since I was 7 years old,
Yeah.
working for my dad's company. So I
You
grew
know.
up in construction.
Michelle used to do some construction and what she did. Jason has a little bit and what he's at. So, I mean, this
Yeah.
team is really well versed in all of that. You know, if we see something weird going on, we're going to look at that first.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. A lot of teams don't have that. They don't have that background knowledge of, oh, you know, this is a raised house. These are noises and things that could happen in this situation. Or,
Yeah, they
you know.
jump straight to paranormal.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what's your caseload like now?
Uh,
And did it jump up after the Duncan thing, the Deborah Duncan thing?
Not really. It stayed about the same. Right now is, of course,
It's
our
steady
slowest.
with no help.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just stays steady. January through early March has kind of always been our slowest season. That's just the way it rolls. So, you know, this is kind of our catch our breath moment, but we're still, right now, we're working like 4 or 5 cases at the moment.
Okay.
And this is the slow season.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a few months.
That's crazy that ghosts have seasons.
It's not really that the ghost.
I'm gonna hibernate for 3 months,
It's
but
the,
when I come
the
out,
people, you know.
It's the after the holidays, get the finances straight before we
Uh-huh.
have anybody getting it, or
Yeah.
you know, you're just start of the year, new me, the whole thing, and then once that wears off, and they're like, oh, well, there's still an issue. And
Yeah.
then,
Let's take care of it now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's once like we get to like mid-March, then it's just a steady build all the way to October. And October is so overwhelming that backs us up and covers us through November and December because we're
Wow.
trying to finish
yeah,
everything from before that. So that's typically how it always rolls. But that whole like fall season is just
yeah.
pull your hair out.
So have you noticed a shift in the type of cases that you guys have had in the past couple of years? I mean, did you
Yeah.
used to just have regular haunts, and now all of a sudden you've got serious haunts and demonic haunts and persistent haunts and things you can't clear?
There's
So, I mean-
definitely been a shift, and there's, I think, a few reasons for that. You know, once we got kind of labeled with that, oh, if you have something really malevolent or demonic, you can call them and they'll help you.
Mhm.
Then everybody who had that found out about that, and we started getting those calls.
Okay.
So we don't get the Casper the Friendly Ghost calls. We get the extreme, you know,
Right.
we're being ripped out of bed and scratched up calls. You know, so there's that factor. As we've added members to the team or people have come and gone, you know, we have people that have a lot of gifts on this team. And those things, it's hard to explain, but the best way I can say it is it's like they know. And that will attract certain types of entities that want to involve themselves with people that have those kind of gifts.
Right.
So, you know, you have that going on.
We've had a case fairly recently where an entity completely unrelated to the case showed up and was like, hey, this is why I'm here. I want to do this. Y'all are in a position to help me do this. Help me. It's like,
Yeah. Strange things that we didn't used to get that are just now out of left field. And we're like, okay, hold on. Let's figure out how we want to roll with that. You know,
I think also, too, over the course of the past, I'd say maybe 2 years or so, obviously as we transitioned away from just doing the kind of Casper the Friendly Ghost cases and into the more serious cases, that kind of comes with a little bit in and of itself. But a lot of the ones we've been going to actual like places where the entire area is messed up. Like we'll go there and like this whole like 3-block radius.
The whole neighborhood?
Or, yeah, where it's something just to do with the land or
Wow.
with something that happened there or like with a greater overall, like the spirit also goes to this house and leaves this area and just kind of like we've run into a lot more of that
Yeah.
I'd say, over the past year or two.
Mm-hmm.
Which has kind of made things more difficult, a little more interesting. Obviously, especially if it's residential, we are only limited by, we can only investigate this house.
Or that property.
Or that property. So it's limited us, and it's provided us with some new challenges for sure, I think, across the board. So that's another facet of what we're now dealing with.
Yeah,
Especially
people.
when you live in one of those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't live in Huntsville.
So y'all don't get called out on a lot of commercial stuff?
No.
Restaurants, bars,
very
theaters.
Very rarely.
And
We'll
zoos.
do them.
Yeah.
It's just they don't tend to call.
Yeah.
With those kind of places, most of the time it's one of two things. Either one, they have it, but they don't want people to know they have it.
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing they want to do is call in a team and draw attention to it.
I would think it'd be the exact opposite.
I would
that they would-
definitely
that
play
they
it up
would-
if I had it.
Yeah. If I had a ghost in my restaurant, I'd be telling everybody, hey, come to the restaurant, check out the ghost.
And
Yeah.
there are a few of those, but it gets tricky too because our hours of investigation.
Yeah.
And if you've got a bar or a restaurant, then we need to be starting before you're closed, which means you have to close, which they don't want
Yeah.
to take away from business to do that. So those things are a little tricky too. But we've done a few businesses in the past. It's just most of the time, if they have them and they want to play that up, they don't want them cleared out and all, which, we're kind of notorious for. That's what we do. We help clear the spirits. We help them move on to where they need to be. So if you're a business and you're trying to make your business off of we have them, last thing you want us to do is clear them out.
Yeah.
So
Why did you have to say it like that? Why did you have to say we need to move them on to where they need to be? Isn't there only two places you can be? Up or down? I mean, you're going to start telling me now there's other places?
There's the large, vast spectrum in between.
it's just ultimately, and that varies from team to team, obviously, with what your religious beliefs are, what your feelings on that are. But in our experience, there's a better, happier place for them to be, and typically that's better for the humans involved.
Well,
too,
I mean,
so.
is there ever a time when there's a spirit who's actually better off still here?
There have been a couple
There
times.
are,
Yeah.
yeah. And there have been times we've left
Yeah.
certain entities.
Most of the time, natives will stay.
Yes, all the time, pretty much.
There are a few instances where they've crossed over to a separate place, but not necessarily within that up-down hierarchy. Obviously, though, there are natives that are sometimes problematic. Obviously, you've heard the tales of skinwalkers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there are sometimes some issues with that. But there's also there's some land guardians. There's some people where it's just passed on family members that just don't feel like, hey, I don't want to leave yet. I'm still watching out for them. They're not causing an issue. Sometimes people like that will stay.
Or
Or like historic
pets.
houses where maybe
Yeah.
the original owner who built the house, they're like, this is my house.
Yeah.
If
They're
they're
just-
not causing a
not
problem and it's
Watching
their
over
home.
it,
Yeah.
guarding it, or
Wow.
That's going back to what you said with businesses too. That kind of retouches on it. It's like, I don't think the manager of whatever Target is going to have a sin, because even if they have a serious problem, when you're looking at 100 people just meandering around your general store, it's probably not going to get noticed. And even if it is, you go home at the end of the day, and whatever it is just there. Okay, I got to pick up like three cans of ragu in the morning. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You know what I mean? It's just not worth the time.
Okay. So this is the year for YouTube. What else is going on?
So yeah, it's definitely the year for that. We want to make that very big. And we're doing the production on that ourselves.
Cool.
So I will be doing like all of the visuals that you see in the credits and a lot of the visual stuff, setting up for the interviews and things like that. Chris is actually writing all of the music. Our credits, all the little...
all the creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Spooky music.
Spooky music. Yeah.
Cool.
And he is playing like every instrument. The
Yes.
man has learned how to play like every
Oh,
instrument
really?
so he can do all of it.
Yeah,
It's like
guitar,
violin trills and all that.
guitar, keyboard.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, mainly.
Drums,
Cool.
I mean drums, obviously.
piano.
Piano, keyboard, and then I got a new keyboard for Christmas, which does everything.
Yeah.
And the ukulele.
So, yeah. So I'm gonna
He
have
literally is.
lots of fun with that.
Well, that's cool.
He's like a one-man band over there that just, like, this
Yeah.
morning he brings to me, listen to this. I've got this really creepy thing I made for
Yeah.
you.
So when do you
pretty
think
cool.
you'll kick this thing off?
We're looking to do it in fall
Okay.
of 2025.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of filming, a lot of editing, which
Yeah.
takes a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Todd has very nicely volunteered for that job. Got his new computer
Yay.
going.
That way we can also get a little bit of a backlog of content, obviously. That
Sure.
way if-
Yeah, a bunch of
Right.
B-roll
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, we've got a lot of filming
Yeah.
to do for
Great.
it. We've done a little bit, but we have a lot of
Playing
specific.
around with that, new cameras, different angles, because most of the time we're always concentrated on the equipment, not on us.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're having to learn how to add the cameras for us and
Okay.
things
We got
like that.
camera lights for Christmas for the podcast room.
Yeah.
Great.
Mics and
Yeah.
yeah.
Mics,
Now,
yeah.
now, speaking of equipment, so have y'all gotten any new equipment? Is there anything new on the market? Is there new stuff that all the other cool ghost hunters are using?
There's always new stuff coming out. I'm kind of a tried and true person. I'm like, let's see how this all pans out. Let's see how it tests out, because it's a common thing. Something new comes out, everybody wants it, and then it's, oh, well, those are faulty though because of this or that, or we found that you can't trust these things. So I'm like, let's let everybody else play with it and
Yeah.
see. And
True blue
if
is
something
always the
comes
best.
up to be really legit, okay, then I want it.
I'm working on materialization spray. So once you detect a being, you'll spray it and it'll materialize. You'll be able to see it.
Well, that's why I always have the shotgun in the back just in case.
You always count on the good old flashlight, though.
Yeah.
Never go wrong
Tried
with
and
that.
true.
Yeah, that and the REM pod, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one too.
It's annoying, but yeah,
He hates the
Yeah.
noise.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't like the REM pod?
No.
He's
What
gotta
about that
transfer
thing
all
that
footage.
puts up the whole light screen deal?
Oh, the laser.
You're-
Yeah.
yeah.
Laser.
We have the
Do y'all,
laser
do y'all have
grids.
one of those? Yeah.
We don't do the MLS.
Yeah.
That's the one with the
No,
little
no.
stick figure things.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
I don't
It is
like
weird.
that.
We do have the thermal cam too,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
we've used on occasion. A lot of the tools though that we do have, like especially because you've been privy to our investigations before, doing the actual question and answer sessions, you really only need something where they can indicate across responses. The actual detection part is where the majority of the gear lies. So I mean, you've got K2s, you've got laser grids, you've got all these various different things. But most of that comes from detection. And obviously, okay, this thing's here, but you're not going to get any information off of
Right.
a thermal cam besides maybe if it's a super clear image, it waving at you. So things like the flashlights and stuff are just better for our purposes because we can more accurately get the information and actually, interact with them rather than just detect.
Yeah.
We actually do have some new equipment. Todd brought in some body cam
Oh yeah,
cameras.
Really?
it works
That-
really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Night
video
vision.
on it is awesome. Now,
Really?
Yeah, sounds a little.
the
iffy,
sound we need to work with, but the video.
So they're
on
like
it,
the cops' body cams,
Oh,
or
it's just
Yeah.
It's little bitty.
It's a
It's
little
about
bitty-
that wide and
Yeah.
about that tall. I
it's
mean,
like something from Star Trek.
cool?
yeah, it's just real small and light.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got night vision, so sees really
Yeah.
good in our low lighting.
Really clear.
Well, that's decent. And everybody's got one, I guess.
Todd's
I've
got
just
got a
one.
couple of
tested.
them.
Yeah.
And Lynette is in the process of getting one. So
Cool.
we'll have two of them
Give me
soon.
one.
Yeah. And see, that may be a way to thwart that whole production issue when you're just working. Because
Yeah.
if you're wearing a body cam, then it'll catch everything, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then it's just a matter of editing what you need and what you don't need.
Well, I've took it and just like
Yeah.
set it up over here in the corner.
Yeah.
You know, while we did our thing, and it
Shit,
catch
I'll just
everybody
wear
in
it
the
on my
room.
plate carrier.
Yeah, it's
That's
working
cool.
really well the way he's
Yeah.
been just setting it up because it gets the whole room, and it's cool because we get a lot of stuff that we couldn't see in the footage we had before that's going on around us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
we've
had
actually. Yeah.
we had a case in Louisiana recently, and I don't even know if he knows this, but he had set it up in a corner of the room, and Lynette was picking up on the spirit who was in that corner of the room. Like she's looking over to it and going back and forth talking to this entity. And multiple times you can see like a shadow
Yeah.
come across the camera. And so as I'm watching it, I'm like, he was standing right there. That's him getting in between the camera and her
Yeah.
when that's happening. And then there were two spirits. This guy was a bit of a problem. And thankfully we negated the problem early on.
Yeah.
But there were two spirits that were kind of working under him, with him, if you will, who were also problematic. And they were in the next room when she had picked up on them. But we kept seeing orbs literally come out of the door of that room, go across the camera, and to like right by him, and then back. And you could see this like here and there throughout. Wasn't constant, wasn't an airflow thing.
Weird.
Didn't affect with where the vents were, but it was very clear, like, okay, these guys are going back and forth, talking to each other and going back and forth in front of this camera. And it was just really cool to be able to visually see that
Yeah.
while
'cause
we
at
were doing
first-
what we're doing.
At
Weird.
first, me and Amy were like, "Is that shadow? Is that We tried to debunk it, but
Yeah. No, it was definitely legit. It was very cool.
because we didn't
Yeah.
know till we started looking at the.
I wonder how much of the stuff
Evidence.
crosses over into the UFO alien thing. I mean, I wonder if there's
A little
any.
bit.
I think quite a bit, actually.
Really?
Because, I mean, a lot of times you'll see, like, I mean, in your house, you might catch an apparition, you might catch something. I mean, think about how many native entities or animals or whatever have passed away on the land, and let's just say that thing, because now it can hover, is 30 feet up in the air, and you just happen to look up and catch a light. Oh, I saw an alien.
Yeah.
Right? That could easily be perceived. I think a lot of it, too, everything's on a spectrum, an energy spectrum. There's probably, I'm not to be like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but there's probably things out there that we cannot see in a
I would
dimensional
think so,
plane.
yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, how much of this crosses over? We've had interactions with entities that are not human, that have claimed to live on other planets before we've interacted with them. So it's like, okay, so you're telling us you're basically an alien and a ghost. Okay.
Bleed over.
Well,
World's
Right,
too,
yeah,
world's
exactly,
too
worlds
big
collide.
for just humans, I think.
yeah.
That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if the other ones are green or not, or gray. Or
The scary little green men come from under the ocean.
Who knows? That's crazy stuff.
Nothing
to think
surprises
Oh,
me.
it is.
You
It's
can say that.
interesting for sure.
About. Yeah.
No, I don't get surprised at all anymore. Like, oh, okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
and I believe in,
These days it's like,
and I
not
think
surprised.
multiple dimensions exist, and
Oh,
like
for
there's
sure.
stuff that takes up the same space that we're in right now,
For sure.
but it's just in a different dimension. We can't see it or detect it, but it's there.
Yeah, and vice
Absolutely.
And I'm
versa.
sure it's annoyed with us as we're annoyed with it. So, yeah, it's strange,
yeah.
Okay.
You get to a point where it's just whatever pops out is like, okay,
Yeah.
sure, why not?
Yeah.
As long as we have
We're
the evidence- as long as
desensitized.
we have
It's
the
a
evidence
weird
backing it
place
up.
to be.
Yeah, it seems like you would get desensitized to it after a while.
We
which I don't know.
definitely are.
I wonder how that feels.
And then
The struggle with that is like when we have clients that, are very, very scared. I mean, naturally, okay, we're human. We understand that. And we've all been there at some point. But you have to, when you do like what we do, you have to put yourself back to those early moments and remember how you felt. Because, this one's scared because the door is opening and closing in front of them and their cabinet's open and it's terrifying. But the guy over here that we're working for is scared because his wife got thrown across the room into the wall. It's a different level, and it's really easy to look at the person with the door and go, okay, that's it. But that is
that's all you got?
terrifying. That is extreme, So
Yeah.
when you deal in the extreme constantly, you've got to constantly kind of reset your mind and go, okay, let's remember
Yeah, this is a big deal for them.
what this is
Yeah.
to them and what they're feeling, and be able to connect with that so you can adequately serve that person.
I can say too, though, that the desensitization is actually somewhat of an aid in that as well. As much as though you would seem like, okay, yeah, y'all have to, work to feel that empathy. I think one thing, especially because obviously she's doing most of the interaction with the client, but one thing that the clients see when we're walking around, especially when we're talking amongst ourselves and doing the initial formalities, is just how, because we are so unfazed by so much of it now, that when they're talking about, oh, there's a demon, that blah blah blah, this person getting thrown across, stuff's getting lit on fire, whatever it might be, and we're just like, okay, we're unfazed by it, and I think that almost kind of acts as a reassurance, almost.
Exactly.
That, okay,
Right.
yeah, they've seen it, they've dealt with it.
Instead of me running out the door.
Exactly. Like, oh, we can't help you. Yeah.
And we get that a lot. Like when they initially call me, I constantly will hear, I had 2 teams already. The first one came once, refused to come back. The other one scared. People have told me they've had priests that have come out
all the time.
that have literally run out of the home. I mean, it's like, can you imagine how much that scares that person? They're already terrified. They're reaching out, and you ran out of their home, and they're looking at you going, there goes my hope out the door. I mean, by the time they call me, it's like, oh, dear God, help us.
See, that'd be my
we come in there
situation
and
for sure.
we're unfazed, and they're like, hey, these guys got this.
Yeah.
More than unfazed, though, too, like you had said earlier, you think, we have the personalities that could entertain a TV show.
Yeah.
When we're just cutting up on a case because we're sitting in a room doing absolutely nothing, but in the next room over, we're actually interacting with some very malevolent entity. The other crew's over here, like, singing the Backstreet Boys or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
The client will, when we're reviewing evidence with them, they'll just be like hysterically laughing along with us because it's like this break of. I always find it funny, and I'll make this analogy a lot in the car. I'm like, at the end of the day, somewhere there's a spirit or a demon or an entity that's like, really? I just lost to that? Like, huh? And I think some of that also kind of, because of that desensitization, again, because we're so used to it and we're not scared of it and we're able to, kind of still bring light to the darkness in that aspect and really help our clients, because it's like when they're seeing the evidence for the first time, they're oftentimes they're scared because they don't exactly know what they have.
Right.
They're they may think they're crazy, so they're like, oh, and they're not going to get anything. Meanwhile, we're just cutting up and then on top of doing our jobs, and it kind of puts them at ease, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
That definitely helps.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you still got the website?
Yes, we still have our website.
And it
Facebook is the biggest thing, though.
Facebook's the
for
biggest
us.
thing. Okay.
So it's under Spring Paranormal Investigations, SPI.
Okay.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
And that's the platform we use most. We're on everything. We're on Instagram, TikTok.
You won't be on TikTok after about 10 days from what I've been told.
I don't know what's going on with that. We'll see.
I already deleted it.
It's supposed to be banned.
But yeah, we're on all of those. It's not Twitter anymore. What is it now? X.
X. Yeah.
So yeah, we're on all of those platforms, but not very much. So I don't encourage people to reach out
Mainly
to us so
Facebook
much on
more
those.
than
Just
anything.
call us. But yeah, Facebook daily.
Yeah. And so you're accepting bookings still, I would imagine?
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
Wow.
now, being slow season, we're about 2 months out.
Mm-hmm.
We're more like 3 to 4.
Wow.
So this is a good time to get us for anybody who needs it.
Yeah. Do you think
that's-
there'll ever come a time when y'all split teams and have 2 or 3 teams of SPI investigators, and maybe one team will handle a certain type of thing and another team will handle another? And
It's been talked about. Every one of my people will laugh at this and go, "Oh yeah." I admit I'm a bit of a control freak.
No.
See,
When it comes to this,
Yes.
but there's the
gotta
reason
be.
it works so well is because of the people we have.
yeah.
And the problem is when you start getting really big and you get different divisions and you have this team and you have this team, duplicating those abilities and those personalities is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And I almost like the idea of just keeping it one smaller team forever.
Okay.
There's a
Because-
certain aspect of the small team, like when we're on an exorcism and we're having to subdue a client and I'm getting their head repeatedly bashed into my shins, and I have Jason on top of them. It's like I know I can count on him to do the right thing that he needs to do in the moment if something goes wrong. Whereas if we have 30 some odd people, and I'm not used to working with that crew. That
Yeah.
It's definitely a
can't
family
guarantee.
thing.
Cool.
And because,
We are a
because
family.
we've all developed together, and Todd being more new to that, but still kind of coming in, seeing how we operate in a very, very close-knit environment, allows us to kind of develop that whole, okay, we know how to talk too. Because if we have 30 some odd people and they're using the wrong phrasing or something, and they could easily invite something onto themselves, we're all using the same lingo, we're all on the same page with everything, and when you start adding too many differences there, or too many differences of belief, you're just inviting conflict.
Pretty much everybody on this team can almost read the other person and what they're going to do or say real close.
Yeah.
And that's essential. That's a big deal, because especially dealing with like demonic cases, there's a lot of things you might not be able to say out loud.
Yeah.
You know, we may be going to a clearing where certain things have to be done, and Ray may know certain things have to be done, but he can't communicate it to any of us.
Yeah.
And I may know I have to do something specific, but he's my right-hand guy, but I can't tell him, because if I tell him, then they know too. So there's
Right.
a lot of, like, I'm looking at you. Are you getting what I'm putting down here? Because I can't spell this out for you, and I hope you're getting it, and you just got to roll with it.
Or information that we've gotten prior to cases via sensitives or whatever, that
Right.
we know, based on that we already know what's there, and we're walking through a home for the first time. Somebody sees such and such entity and gives somebody else the look of, we can't tell a client that
Right.
we don't have the foundational evidence to back it up,
Right.
but we're communicating, okay, this is what's going on, this is where
I
we
get
need
it.
to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to be really, really
Now we
tight
gotta get
with
the
each other
evidence,
for
yeah.
that to work.
Because
Cool.
pretty much everybody on this team can walk in a room and tell you something's there or what's there. But, you know, I mean, seeing that on film, that doesn't relate. That's
Yeah.
why we use the equipment, is to verify.
Okay.
And there's other things too, like good example. We had a case in Louisiana just a couple months ago, and Todd and I were with Lynette, and she was compromised by a spirit. There were a lot of things that night, and it was an all night thing that he and I had to communicate on. We couldn't communicate everything out loudly or in front of her, and we certainly couldn't leave her alone. So there were a lot of glances and a lot of gestures and God, I hope you're getting everything that I'm trying to communicate to you, and we did.
We got it pretty
And
good that
we were
night, so.
really fluid at it, and that was really good. I mean, you know,
Cool.
that was a hard night, and we made that night really work for us. But
Yeah.
if you don't have that connection and that knowledge of each other and that almost like an intimate working thing, then you're not going to be able to do that, and you're just not going to have the same result.
Yeah. Makes
And
sense.
it's the results that are important to me, because when you're dealing with demonic stuff and all, I mean, some of these people, their lives are depending on us, literally.
Right.
And every person plays a specific integral
Yeah.
part. It's like a wheel.
Yeah.
If everybody's
Yeah.
the left spoke on number 18, it's going to flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
get
have
it.
to have all of them together.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
All right.
We had a very serious demonic case recently that actually resulted in 2 exorcisms within a 48-hour period. You know, that case, this kind of thing was very essential. There was a lot
That
of
was very impromptu, last minute, and like out the blue.
that was a really, really complicated case, and
That case dragged
Was
on
that
for-
local?
So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, about halfway between here and Dallas.
Okay.
We're gonna call it the Old Mansion case, just because the home is so large and well known that
Easily
I don't
recognizable.
even want to
Right.
say the town,
Yeah.
just
Okay.
to keep the anonymity for the client.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it was it's a 3-story house with a basement and an attic.
Wow.
And the rooms and the square footage just go on and on and on.
Yes.
And
It's
I
crazy,
knew,
yeah.
you know, when she called me, she explained, and we, you know, we knew what we were getting into. No matter what, when you drive up to something like that and you see it, I mean,
Whoa.
everybody in the
That's
car
like,
went like,
wow.
oh,
Massive.
okay, how are we going to handle that,
Yeah.
boss? And it's
It's
like,
gonna take a while.
all right,
Massive
we're
to
going to be
film.
all right.
Yeah.
Let's just go how we usually do. May take a little bit more investigating just to get all the way through this house. But, you know.
And it did take a lot. There was
7 months.
It was quite a while that one, because that one was quite a process. There was an initial crop of spirits there that had their own initial goals, and then we got a lot of them cleared, and then some other stuff tried to capitalize on the fact that was now gone, and it just went on and on.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was something that I was so glad she called us, because I'm like, most teams would have been intimidated by the house alone, much less the type of entities we were dealing with within it.
Wow.
It was just very mind-blowing. And of course, you know, when the exorcism point of it came up, we didn't expect that. We knew we had done the initial clearing, and we knew there might be still some things we might have to go back for and tweak. The demonic that was there, that had taken off initially when we came to do that, obviously wasn't completely gone, and did come back. And she called on a Friday and basically said, I've been struggling with this for days. And she was 1 minute, I need your help. And the next minute, no, don't come. I don't want anything to do with you. And, you know, I'm real good at reading between the lines. And, you know, I've been working with this person for months. You know, I know her very well.
Yeah,
and,
so you could tell.
Yeah, and I was like, no, you need us, and we're coming. And we will be there tomorrow night. And this is, and the only reason it was even tomorrow was got to have time to prepare and got to get everybody on board for this. Jason and I together at the last minute, because of how back and forth she was, made the call that we weren't going to go that night. We were going to go that next morning. We didn't want to get there when they thought we were going to get there. We wanted to be early because we knew they were preparing too. So element of surprise a little bit. So we sped it up. And we went that morning. Ray was working that weekend.
Unfortunately.
So he could not be there with us.
I was having to advise over the phone.
And Jason and I, of course, were the only ones that had experience doing an exorcism. Michelle was not with us. Ray's not with us. So Lynette and Todd are there. You know, this is Todd's very first one.
Thrown into a whirlwind.
You know, and
Good
Lynette,
times.
Lynette I
in, man.
typically
All in.
would not bring to something like that.
Right.
But because we didn't have somebody else who could do key components of that job, I needed her there. So, you know, we get to headquarters and we're getting ready to leave, and it's like, okay, before we get in the car, things y'all need to know about what's going to happen here and how this could work. And the two of them are sitting there like,
When we get
as
there, we
Jason
don't
and I
know
are
what
just
they're
going
to
over
do.
this, and Jason, they're going to bite you. They're going to do this. They're going to, you know, and they're just over there like, oh my God, what did we just
If
sign
they start
up
trying
for?
to make overt eye contact, avoid it.
I mean, to his credit, you know, she's not here, but he handled it very, very well. It's not an easy thing to take that in when you have people throwing all of these things that are possibly going to happen to you at you like that, and you've never seen this. I
like my job a lot better, so I'm glad y'all are out doing that.
Hey, I'm always ready to jump in feet first. So.
Yeah, there you
That
go.
being said, though, that case did provide, because I know a lot of times we harp on the demonic, though. That case did provide some pretty cool non-demonic evidence and some personal experiences there. I know Todd, Jason, and myself were all in the dining room of the residence, and we had four spirits were interacting with us at once. Because there were two gentlemen that were, come to find out after all the investigation process, were murdered at a poker game. They were sitting at the dining room table with us. So I took one chair, and they were sitting in the chairs. We all took the other chairs, and kind of almost set up like we were playing like a mock poker game.
Yeah.
We had a malevolent entity from the home come in and try to start talking from behind me, because I had an open door right behind me. And we kept on hearing boom, 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 just like walking up behind me, and then the door just kind of like creaked open and just sat there, and we're like, okay, all right. And then right after that, another entity got mad that he had come into the room, so they stood behind Todd. So we're just having a grand old time.
Oh yeah, it was great.
And there was when I walked in. Keep in mind, nobody's really. The resident was living in the house, but only part of the time, as it was under construction at the time, and not a smoker. Right, I walk into that room, I just smell cigar smoke.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, and I told Jason, I'm like, I know we don't have any cigars on us, but just unroll one of your cigarettes, just put some tobacco just on the table, and it was one of those things where it's like as soon as we did that. Activity started, and it just started coming alive. It was
Well, there was the gun thing too.
Yeah, true.
The gun thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have several members on my team that are permitted to concealed carry.
Okay.
And most of them were in that room that night.
All three of us were in that room.
So, well, we have four.
We have one more. We have one more.
But so yeah, there was an issue because obviously these guys were murdered at this game, and they're aware that these guys are.
We took out the gun and sat them on the table like we're not fixing to.
Yeah.
They patted it first because they actually tugged on it.
Yeah, they tugged on it.
Hey,
was it yours or
it was
Jason's?
mine.
Yeah, it was his that they had tugged on.
Like,
it.
no, you can't tell. We ain't trust
Yeah,
you.
they
You're
like
hiding
knew
that.
it was in it, and they
Yeah.
like tugged on it. And then I'm like, at this point, I had already kind of deduced, okay, this is what had happened at this thing. So I'm like, all right, hands on the table, guns on the table.
Yeah.
And
Just-
boom, they started
Yeah,
talking.
because they weren't really residual, but there was a residual aspect. Like they were still kind of perceiving themselves as where they were when they died, when it happened.
Yeah.
Hence the arrangement.
Right.
So I think part of being caught up in that, and it was almost like we want to, as much as we're trying to put the clients at ease, some of these spirits do not realize they're dead or are still somewhat caught up in their death. And these two guys being in that traumatic instance of, okay, you were just at a poker game and then somebody shot you.
Yeah.
Being caught up in that, they're kind of traumatized. So us being
Right.
able to be like, all cards on the table, we don't mean you any harm, anything like that, even though obviously we can't shoot them.
Yeah.
But it's one of
But
those
they
things.
don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's almost like there's still a person. There's still a psychological aspect to that. And to be able to also interface with them in that way and kind of relate to them in that human way was something that was incredibly important, I feel, especially
Yeah,
for
it
that,
was.
for that session, yeah.
We
Well-
even me and Lynette got the flashlight roll in that case as well.
Yeah.
There were a lot of very, very cool elements of that case. The house was built like around 1900,
Yeah.
and it had been a boarding house. So there had been, multiple crimes, multiple deaths,
Yeah.
and things that happened.
So y'all
there.
can use part of that to set your YouTube thing on fire. That'd be great.
Yeah, there will definitely be some visuals and some different things from that show.
That's cool.
And I'm not happy, obviously, that it came to that. I would never wish that on anybody. But the best part of it was in the end is this was one where we can truly say we saved her life. When we got there early to do the exorcism on the Saturday, it became apparent that she had not eaten, drank, or slept for several days.
Wow.
Now, Jason, of course, is a former EMT.
Yeah.
And we got there, and how we found her is a very scary horror movie-esque scenario, to put it mildly. She was
Could have gone
she was up on-
very bad.
she was up on a top floor behind a closed door. There had been traps rigged for us. She had a I won't say what kind, again for anonymity, but she had a very large guard dog that was on, so to speak, a very thin thread, which was one of the backup plans of if something were to happen, the dog would be able to get to us. There were a lot of very dangerous elements of this.
Not to mention you're dealing with a possessed person who's in a house with an abundance of rooms and all of the
Doors
doors
and
are
windows
closed and
Yeah.
you only know that they're on roughly within a specific floor range of this house, and you're playing peekaboo
Nice.
with the doors.
Yeah, we've never had a situation where we walked in and we weren't able to conveniently access the possessed individual.
Yeah.
In this situation, we went up to the place on the property where she was staying, and she was not there. So we actually had to get a neighbor who thankfully was very, very cool and very, very helpful throughout, to gain us access to the property. And this poor woman was so terrified. She was looking after other family members and so forth for this person, and was like, this is not my friend. This is not the person I know. Like, she's not okay. I've been looking for your number. I haven't known what to do. I'm like, it's okay. We're here.
Yeah.
We just need you to get us access so we can get to her.
Yeah, she was in a full-on panic.
So we finally get into the house, and we're walking around, and as we go through each step, this poor lady is more and more terrified. She's, shouting out her name, and you can hear the panic building in her as she's shouting. And so we go through the whole first floor. I dip my head down the basement. Nothing. We go to get up to the stairs, and we start to go up the stairs. And at this point, she's just screaming her name. And then finally, we hear our client, very muffled, very off in the distance, sounding not at all herself, respond. And the lady just turned, white as a sheet. And it looked like she was going to fall against the wall. And Jason's kind of holding on to her, and she looks at me like, oh my God. And I said, she's in here. We know we have access. You going back to your house. This is for us. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go any further. And she's like, okay, thank God. Okay, and she leaves as quick as she can possibly exit. Jason and I.
Was she in the room where a guy got into it with the one that was there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Todd and Lynette were outside, and they had kind of
was this
missed.
during the day or at night?
This was during the day.
Okay.
They had kind of missed, what was going on.
That house was very dimly lit.
Jason and I are calling out for them, like, we need you in here, get in here, and they're oblivious, and we're like, we don't know how much time we've got. We don't know where in here she is, what she's got set up here, So we devised, okay, we're gonna go up to the second level. And I'm going to stand here by the stairs so that if she comes out of any one of 100 rooms in this house, she's got to pass me going up or down, and I'm going to see her. And so all the doors, which was not typical, but all the doors that day in the house were closed.
The entity within them probably went around.
So Jason literally, and he's like, I'll just go walk. I'm like, I don't want you to go and walk around in the rooms where I can't see you and you can't see me. So open the doors, look in, and that's it. And open them as you go. So that's what he did. And he walked the whole second floor while I'm standing at the stairs, literally watching him and watching everything like
this. So
this.
it's just you and him in the house.
Right.
Okay.
So now we've gone through basement.
Again, very impromptu situation.
Right. Basement, first floor. Now we're on the second floor, so we clear that. So we're looking at each other. Okay, we've got another floor here. So we go up once again. I'm standing at the top. Now there were 2 rooms on that third floor that had been particularly problematic. One of them more so than the other. And
well, one was more problematic for the case. The other one was more problematic given what it was used for.
So he's opening the doors. The one won't open. So we're thinking, oh, now, like, she's in there because it won't open. We can't, But there was another at the far end of the hall. So, and that one was the only door that was not closed, but it was cracked. Just like this. So he looks at me like there's something weird with this. So he's, hold on, So he walks down there, and because this one was cracked, he just peers in the crack. And he turns around and looks at me. Okay, here we go. We got a problem, and yes, she's in here. So, I'm still calling out for them, and I'm like, what the heck? Okay, I can't wait. She can jump up and attack him. So I run down the hall, and And we throw open the door, and she was sitting in a chair, just completely possessed, eyes closed, just like this, unresponsive, completely unresponsive. So it took us a few minutes to get a response out of her. I'm trying to get her to open her eyes because I'm trying to get her to connect with me. Refuses to do that, but will come with us. So now we've got the two of us, and we're trying to get her out of this chair, down the hallway. We got 2 massive flights of very straight,
Very
historic
steep
stairs to go down.
Yeah.
Thankfully, these two finally come in there, and I'm like, taunt, So he and Jason managed to help her downstairs. She never did open her eyes. She was just in refusal to do that. So she hasn't eaten, drank, or slept in like 3 days. And her eyes are closed, so they're literally like
Basically
guiding
carrying her
her
down the stairs.
down the
I was
stairs,
waiting for her to roll both of us down the stairs, at
Which
any second.
easily
I was
could have
prepared
happened.
For it.
Lynette's like down below them, like kind of leading the way and looking back, and I'm right behind him, literally like with my hand on his shoulder, ready to jump in if she does do anything, But yeah, that was
That's if something doesn't push y'all down the stairs that isn't inside her.
the whole thing
Exactly.
was an ordeal. And then, of course, when we got down and realized how long it had been since she'd eaten or drank anything, Jason, being an EMT, was like, she needs electrolytes. So he sent him to the store right away. Like, we need Gatorade, we need this, and throughout the day, we stayed several hours and got her to eat and drink and that kind of thing. But, I mean, by the end of it, she was completely back to herself, and it was like, oh my God, you saved my life. And Jason even said, he was like, she had hours. Literally, he said if we wouldn't have gotten here till tonight, he goes, she would have already been gone.
Wow.
So, you can't put a price on that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Wow. Have y'all had cases that extreme before? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
it happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one. There was one. We've referenced it a couple times. I think that we've been on here in various the very first exorcism we did, where after the fact we learned of what the actual plan was to go ahead and kill everybody in the house. Because in that specific instance, 3 of the family members had been priorly possessed or compromised by entities.
Yep.
And one of them was
Well, actually
basically-
4, but one was already deceased. So
yeah, 4, but one was deceased. Then, they had basically the plan was all 3 get possessed instead of just the one that we were dealing with, which she circumvented one, and Michelle and Jason helped me to circumvent the other and basically pull them out of where they were supposed to be for this to go the way it was going to go. But the plan was that they were basically, because there were only 4 of us there, the plan was the house was going to get lit on fire and everybody dies.
yeah.
That was what we had later on. So it's like, oh, okay. So if I hadn't have done that, that one thing that I did, said person would have, and then...
And I
Yeah.
totally look at that as divine intervention.
Yeah.
I had no idea that the person that I stopped was going to do that at that time. That was somebody else's hand guiding us.
Wow.
It always
And
is when it works like that.
She had pulled said member of the family aside before, and then I had gotten up because at this point we were already dealing with the primary client being possessed. We're all on the ground in the kitchen / living room area with her, and I got up because I needed a break because I had just for the past 2 hours gotten beaten to hell.
We would take breaks in shifts.
And I got up to go talk to her, and in that moment, I saw that I just got a feeling. I'm like, something ain't right. And I'm like, I went up to one of the other family members in the home, and I'm like, I just started talking to him, just like something. And had I not done that, that was the other cog in the machine. It's like Had she not done what she did? Had I not have just had the... Because I was just making a beeline outside because I'm like, I need to... But it was just... It was almost like midway, like mid-stride. I just like... No, something's not right. Had I not done that, who knows what would have happened, right? I mean, all it would have taken was for said family member to run off into another room while nobody's looking and torch the place.
Yeah, crazy.
The grossest thing about that one, because, you see stuff in the movies, and if you haven't actually experienced it, you don't know what you're getting. But, the whole spitting and foaming thing, that is a real thing.
Not exactly pea soup, but...
No, not that part. But the other part, that is a valid thing. And in that first one, we had a lot of all of that. And I remember everybody just getting back to the hotel when that was over and being so exhausted that nobody even cared about getting a shower, and everybody just went and laid down and passed right out. Mm-hmm. And I could feel when you would go to move your face, if you smile, if you've ever been really dirty or something where you can feel it on your face, you could literally, my face was hard from the amount of spit on my face. And I remember they had a pool, and we were all kind of sad because it had been kind of cold that weekend. We used the hot tub, but we didn't use the pool. Yeah. And I remember looking at the pool outside, and I was like, yep. I just pulled my hair back and dunked my face in the pool because I was too tired to shower too. But it was I can't go to sleep with my face being hard from spit. That was the okay, it's over, I can breathe moment. I've dunked my face in the pool.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, guys, it's been great having you back on. I'm glad y'all are doing all right, and I'm glad the team's in good condition and good place. And
I just thought about we're a very, very, very unique version of all right by most people's standards.
Yeah, you are.
We just finished that. And then, glad y'all are all right. Yeah, that's our all right. Huh? That's an interesting baseline.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm glad y'all do what you do because I don't want to do it. That's for sure. I don't want to deal with it. So, yeah, you're still accepting bookings.
Yes.
Got a YouTube thing. Anything else going on?
Currently, we're in talks with 2 people, but we are looking for 2 new members.
Really?
So there is still an opportunity for anyone the right kind of crazy enough who wants to be a part of this.
1-800-GO.
Yeah, that's it.
You've got to have reliable transportation. Okay. 35 years or up. Ray's our exception, as our young member. He's our token young guy. Yeah. But yeah, so and preferably in the north or northwestern Houston suburbs. We've had, for some reason, a lot of out-of-town people responding to our ad.
Really?
I had a girl even in New York. Yeah. And I'm
she's gonna make the commute.
These are volunteer positions. It's not a paid position. Yeah. This is something you do because you have a calling.
Yeah. And you don't charge your clients.
You really want to help others.
Right, you don't charge your clients.
Correct.
Yeah.
The only thing we charge is to cover the travel.
Okay.
So, but there's no fee for the services.
Yeah. Okay.
Lodging if needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, lodging, travel, air, car, whatever that may be. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll be looking forward to the launch of your YouTube channel, and I'll definitely do what I can to help promote it.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you guys are doing well and good having you back on again.
Great to be with you.
Thanks for having us.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. Spring Paranormal Investigators in for the 5th time, I think. And, this will be a quarterly thing. So they always bring good stories, and they always bring a happy group. So I'm Hank Vatt. This is Hank's Think Tank, and see you in the next one, probably in a couple days. All right, guys. Here we go.